Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told friends and supporters of the country, including soldiers and enemies of the nation, that they should remove the word ceasefire from dictionary in the ongoing retaliatory war against Palestinian fighters, Hamas, in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the Ramon Air Force Base on Sunday said there will be no ceasefire without the return of the hostages. We say this to our friends and to our enemies. We will continue until we defeat them. According to news released from the office of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu visited the Ramon Air Force Base and met with air crew combat personnel and ground crew personnel. Accordingly, at the start of the visit, the Prime Minister was briefed by the base commander, Colonel J, on the activities of the squadron and the combat helicopters during the fighting in the Gaza Strip, including air attacks and providing close support to ground forces currently active in the Strip. The base commander emphasized the cooperation and close links between air units and the ground forces. Prime Minister Netanyahu, accompanied by the Director of National Security Council, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff and the Prime Minister's Military Secretary, thereafter met and spoke with air crews that have participated in the fighting, and was briefed on the use of F-16I fighter jets. He also spoke with technical crews at the base who are responsible for maintaining and arming the aircraft. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, wrote, read in quotes, "I thank you. Our enemies misjudged us. They thought that on the crucial day we would not report. We reported together and now we are fighting shoulder to shoulder. I also want you to know that there is one thing we will not do. There will be no ceasefire without the return of the hostages. This should be completely removed from the lexicon. We say this to our friends and to our enemies. We will simply continue until we defeat them. We have no alternative. I think that we all understand this today. The entire nation is united and relies on you, appreciates what you are doing and believes in you. We will continue together until victory." Sunday makes it 30 days since bloodshedding started when the Hamas fighters invaded southern Israel on October 7, 2023, killing over 1,405 Israelis and more than 200 taken hostage. Israel, in retaliatory attacks, according to Gaza Health Ministry, has killed over 9,770 people, including children, women and babies. The Israel Defense Forces (IDF), in a statement few days ago, said the Israeli ground troops have encircled completely the Gaza city. It was gathered that the IDF have continued to pound Hamas hideouts, including the Mystic tunnels, and destroy them. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant warned Hamas and vowed to assassinate Hamas top leader Yahya Sinwar. Earlier on Sunday, thousands of protesters gathered to march down the streets of Washington, D.C. calling for a ceasefire in Gaza.
This is a time for a war for our common future. Today we draw a line between the forces of civilization and the forces of barbarism. It is a time for everyone to decide where they stand. Israel will stand against the forces of barbarism until victory. Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen.
Look, you've got 240 hostages still being held by Hamas. Some of them are children under 8. I think there's a baby of 9 months old. It is absolutely sickening. The idea that you could have a ceasefire, interrupt the Israeli security force, the Israeli Defense Force's operations now when they're trying to find these poor people, now when they're trying to rescue them, seems to me to be completely wrong. I mean, it must be up to Israel. I mean, it's not for me to second guess the operational decisions that they want to make. If they think that there's a logic for a pause for humanitarian reasons, that's entirely up to them. But they've got to be able to continue with what is the enforcement of law, with the protection of their people in the way that they need to do. And we need to, and so I would say we need to give them some time and give them some space, because